everybody, it's Andrea Mercier, aka Anloam, and welcome to my studio. Today is part 2 of a video series that I'm doing. To see part 1, which is the glazing technique, you can go right here. This is part 2, where we're going to take the canvases that we glazed and we're going to do the transfer technique on them and create a sign for my studio. So here we go. What we're going to do is we're going to transfer these two pieces onto here, and then we are going to adhere these together. Woo! We're going to adhere them together with string in between, and then I'll be able to flip the sign for green that my husband can come into the studio, or red I'm doing a live videoing and he can't come in. And because this is not going to be outside, I'm going to use Mod Podge to do my adhering for the transfer technique. Now, if this item that you are making is going to go into a bathroom, which is a high humidity environment, I wouldn't suggest the Mod Podge, as it tends to return to its Elmer glue-like consistency if it gets really wet. We learned that in the North Gate video. So if you're going to be using this in a high humidity environment, then I would suggest using the gloss medium and varnish. Or the matte one, it doesn't matter. I tend to use gloss when I'm doing glazing just because I want it to be nice and shiny. All right, I'm just going to use a foam brush. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to Mod Podge only in that area, because the more Mod Podge you put on, the more rubbing you have to do later. And I just want to be able to rub where this is. And I'm going to just center it on here. And it will be super duper fine for my studio sign. So I'm going to put it down quite thick because I'm going to use a old gift card to squeegee it out like that. So I want to center this so it's all nice and pretty. And then I take my used gift card. Now with my technique, I let this dry. There's many other techniques out there where you would start ripping now. And I don't like that because I find that I lose the edge of a lot of my letters. So I let it dry. A half an hour tops to get that secured, properly dried and secured. So I will come back when that is dry, and then I will show you how to remove the paper. This is a little bit of an interlude. So I'm halfway through the project. So this is before you actually get to see the project. And I love Mod Podge. I've been doing some projects with it, but I cannot recommend Mod Podge for this particular technique. I learned that Mod Podge wasn't going to be good for multiple layers and stuff that was going outside because it returned to its white Elmer glue consistency. But since then, I've been using it for lots of things, and I forgot, even though I talk about it in this video, I really forgot how badly it interacts with water. So I'm going to let you watch this project. I want you to know these are not the best results. It's a sign for my studio, so I don't care, but there is now a big sign on my wall that says Mod Podge cannot be used for transfer technique. You have to use gloss or matte medium from Liquitex that does not return to its liquid consistency. I really thought that it would be able to deal with this because it was such a small piece, but it is not functioning well. So I'm going to completely let it dry and then do it in smaller doses to keep the Mod Podge as dry as possible when I'm rubbing off the paper, so that it doesn't lift, because that's what's happening. It's lifting. So watch this video, watch the technique. Everything about the technique is still good except for the use of the Mod Podge. Enjoy. So here we are. It's been about 15 minutes since I glued this down. I forgot to tell you that before I went to bed last night, I put a coat of Mod Podge on each one of these panels just to protect them, so that I would have a better end result today. What I didn't want was to accidentally pull this and actually pull up some of my glaze. So I did a protective coat of Mod Podge. Again, if this is going to be in a high humidity environment, definitely not outdoors, but like a bathroom, then I would have used something other than the Mod Podge. I would have used a varnish or glaze, or the gloss medium. So this is water. Just wet my paper. You can see here where the Mod Podge is on top, so I might have a little bit of a problem there, but it's all good. So I always kind of start at the outside where it doesn't matter that if I rub too hard. See, and then I can get all of this extraneous paper out of the way, because I can see my writing right there. So I just don't want to be ripping near my writing. There we go. I do use my fingers near the letters. To start until I see how well they've adhered, what it looks like. I tend to be overly cautious. Because I have worked on projects, I've talked about this before, where I've been over enthusiastic and I've ended up ripping off the letters, and it makes me nuts. So taking off that first layer of paper, you can start to see, actually I can there we go. Actually I'll move the camera. Can I move the camera? There we go. So you can start to see the letters. So just getting that first layer of paper, and it's going to be a little bit more difficult here because I got Mod Podge on the top, but it was only a really thin coating of Mod Podge. So see, now that I've taken that first layer off, the second layer is absorbing the water. So I'm going to fast forward this. Okay, so I've been letting this dry, and I've been using less water, and that seems to be overcoming some of the issues that I'm having with the Mod Podge kind of liquefying, for lack of a better word. So as you can see, I've been able to salvage a lot of the outside where the glaze is, and what'll happen is when I'm done and I've removed all the paper, I'll put another layer of Mod Podge over it to seal everything in and give it the final sheen, so you can't see some of the places where the Mod Podge has moved a little bit. So I'm going to just keep going with the paper removal. See you on the other side. Mod Podge lifting, just like it did in Northgate. There, that made me feel better. Can you see how I pulled away some of the L there? That's when it was wet. Now that the Mod Podge is dry, it's much easier to get nice clean results. I'll be able to fix that with a pen though. Another valuable lesson I have learned is, see, today I was too lazy to cut and properly center my message. I knew my message was centered on my sheet of paper, so I just adhered down the whole thing because I was lazy. And now look, I have all of this to remove. If I had cut my message smaller and had measured the middle of my board and the middle of my message and just Mod Podge there, I wouldn't have all of this. So let that be a lesson to me and everybody else. So yeah, as long as I keep the Mod Podge dry and only dampen the paper, I'm getting much better results. This is wet Mod Podge, not paper. So I'm going to let this dry, and then we'll come back with when both of them are dry, and we'll finish up the sign, because this one still needs some peeling, and I'm not going to film that. You've seen enough. All right, so what we have is 2 panels. This is a Mod Podge issue, so this will be corrected when I put on the protective coat. However, right now what I wanted to do is see if I could well, that's as much as I'm going to zoom. To see if I could fix this. I have a little bit of that blue glaze that I used during Love Winter Art. I think it's a little bit too dark, but because it's a glaze, I was hoping it would just kind of fill it in a little bit. Now I'm going to heat gun these off camera, and then I'm going to put the protective coat of Mod Podge over it, and then we'll come back and assemble the sign. Okay, so we have our 2 signs, and as you can see, they turned out pretty good. Nice and shiny. Excellent. So I'm just going to zoom out a bit so you can see what I'm going to do next, because I'm going to adhere these 2 together, and I'm going to adhere them with some string in between so that I can hang it. I'm going to be using Aleene's tacky glue. The first thing I need to do is get this string on. So the first thing I thought I would do is just, I could probably just tape that. I put a knot in it so it wouldn't slip, depending on what I did. Either I glued it or I taped it. I think I'm going to tape it. And then when I glue it together, there'll still be lots. Just there we go. That's just packing tape. There we go. Okay. Let's get the Aleene's. I'm going to let that dry, and then tomorrow that will go on my door. Okay. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe right here. I have also added to the end of this the new commandments that will be used for transfer techniques, and I'm going to come back and do another transfer video either today or tomorrow that is going to follow those commandments, so it will be the final word on my transfer technique. I invite you to like me on my Facebook page, visit me at my Etsy store and at my website. The links are down in the dibbly-doo. And of course, thank you for joining me on this arting journey. I really appreciate you coming and spending your time with me and following all of my silly adventures. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.